Hey, what's up, dude?
Hey, there we go. All
Yeah,
right.
sorry, I was peeking. A little late, a little late. Or am I right on
Oh,
time?
yeah, yeah, you're exactly on time, actually.
Punctual.
Sweet. Better than me. I show up like, I don't know, at least 20 minutes early to everything.
Yeah. That's,
Yeah, it's
that's, that's
huh?
difficult. It's better
The
than showing up late, is what I'm saying.
the connection's a little rough there.
Yeah, it is. And it's where I'm at. The development is not great.
Yeah. Little little laggy.
Yeah.
Um, not I'm hoping it'll catch up here in a second.
I can see most of the time
Uh,
the Wi-Fi doesn't even let me get on.
yeah, it's a little rough, man. I'm having a hard time even really hearing you. All right, bear with us, guys. Hmm. Okay. Well,
I don't know, man. We may be in trouble here.
yeah, I say it's pretty rough, man. uh, uh, shoot.
uh, we get points for trying, I think.
Right. Um.
Not so good for the viewers. They're like, what the fuck, you guys can get? This.
Yeah.
No, I can't get the Wi-Fi doesn't work here.
Oh, okay. Are you able to like jump off your Wi-Fi or?
No, I'm not. I can't even connect to it. That's the
Okay.
problem. But, oh, now it's
Well,
a second car.
yeah, it's starting to catch up now, so we'll. Okay.
We can do our best here.
Yeah. All right. Welcome, guys. uh, I'm Ryan with Rigs of Death Metal, everybody. My guest today is Greg with it's a Legion, right?
Yeah. Oh man, you get a lot of points already. This is going.
Sweet. I was say I there's like so many people mispronounce it. I'm like, oh God, I'm gonna embarrass myself.
No,
But sweet.
it's uh it's a rite of passage. It's our fault for having such a dumb name, honestly. So,
It's up there with mispronounced names, like right alongside like
yeah,
Necrophagist, I think.
yeah,
Like everyone pronounces it in that band differently.
yeah. Well, it just makes us special.
Right. Well, awesome, man. I'm happy to have you on here. I'm glad that the phone's finally starting to cooperate a little bit.
Sick.
Um, First off, I want to say the last album is probably my favorite thing you guys have put out so far.
No, thanks.
Um, yeah, absolutely. Um, I I think Beast and Worms. I think that's probably my favorite track so far. Um, but so kudos for
Well,
that.
thank you.
What we'll just dive right into the gear side of it. What was your setup like on this newest album?
On the album, well, Dave, we're always using just like plugins, right? I think we're usually using plugins for our lead tone, and then he'll over the course of our many years with Dave Otero, we were going from Like the very first time we were like 5150 and Mesa. And then over the years morphed into we were just using plugins on his computer. And then this time he's rolled us over to Kemper. And basically we're still using the same like 5150 block loader, but he's just profiled it into his Kemper. So
Okay.
yeah.
What plugins were you using whenever you guys were on that?
I have no clue. They change so often. Yeah, it was a few years ago because I think the last couple of recordings we've been on that Kemper, and they've always been like the his block loader 5150 or 6505,
Okay.
right? And then I threw the EVH in, and then we were using a PS Acheron profile as well.
Oh,
Yeah, just kind of like mixing and matching.
yeah. Okay, cool. I'm a Kemper user too, and I've got profiles of all those amps, so that I mean they're sick for sure. What are you using live? You're a tube guy live, aren't you?
No. We're it kind of depends. We run Axe Effects live. So what we're doing, we have the like electro harmonics. What is it? I wrote it down just so I wouldn't mess it up for this. It's like a Magnum 44, little like almost looks like a pedal, right? That acts as a power amp, right? That runs our cabs, right? So we're just using the Axe Effects for all our like patches though. So
Okay,
yeah.
sweet. And give us the specs on that really sweet BC Rich Warlock custom that you got last year. I think it was last year, right?
Yeah. It was actually kind of crazy. So when we were approached by BC Rich to come over, we both Mike and I we already had kind of our like we were already with companies that for me had just kind of lapsed, and then with Michael was just about to lapse. So we were just like, well, sure. I mean, because neither of us were like looking for stuff. So when BC Rich approached us to do it, we were just like, sure, we'll take free stuff.
Yeah.
But I just think it was odd because we were approached, we didn't seek after it, which is not usually how it's worked for us. So it was just really weird that way. And then when we got them, I was just super impressed because we both were using just their like production model like Shredzilla 8s, right? And so a lot of the things on that I really like because the necks were super thin, which is a big thing for me. They were way heavier than I was used to. I came from Carillion, which like you can balance on one finger. They're like the lightest guitars ever. And this thing, it was just like I'm gonna need a chiropractor after playing it. But it was the first 8-string I've ever had deployed. And I had just since we went over to 8-string like in 2011, just like I've never had an 8-string with a tremolo system. So it was like I just got used to playing the hardtails. And then as soon as I got this BC Rich, I noticed it wasn't that I was a huge user of the bar, but because the bridge would move, right, it would give a little bit whenever I would vibrato or bend or whatever. So suddenly I'm just like, wow, I don't feel like I'm fighting the guitar. Not that I ever had felt like that before, but then when I had something that was making it easier for me, I was just like, oh, I can't go back now. So now I'm just like a sucker for tremolos just because I just feel like it facilitates my playing so much better. So when it was time to do the customs, I had used a Strat for so many years, and they're just like, well, come on, any company can make you a Strat. We're BC Rich. And I was like, well, I always have loved the Warlock. like since I was a little kid. I always loved the Warlock. I've had a couple Warlocks, but my biggest concern was anytime I've had a funky shaped guitar, because of the way they've cut the wood, you're losing a lot of tone. And then whenever I would play like against a Strat player, they generally like just sounded better. And that was always frustrating because I love pointy guitars. But what they were saying is they were showing me the tone center. A lot of the tone in guitars is in the horns, which like was very confusing to me because I didn't think that was like it doesn't make sense to me quite. Uh, uh, I don't know. It just doesn't make sense to me. So I was like, okay, well then I definitely want the horns, and then like if you're not cutting too much out of the body, then it'll work. So the Warlock is almost like perfect for you. And I'm like, well, you've sold me. That's what I want. Like, give me a pointy guitar. We have to have 8 strings, and then I need a tremolo system now. And my original plan was I was going. We were in talks with True Temperament because I wanted a True Temperament frets.
Okay.
And I'm very health conscious about my wrists and everything, so I don't want a long scale guitar. Even though we're playing 8 strings, the complexity and sometimes playing like the more techie side of things, I don't want to hurt my wrists. You know what I mean? I want to be completely relaxed when I'm playing. So I didn't want to go above a 26.5-inch scaling, but True Temperament, they don't make that for their 8s. They only make 27. So it came to that balance. I really wanted True Temperament, so I just went with the 27-inch. So, but then the True Temperament, we measured it after we cut out the guitar, neck through, whole thing, 2 truss rods, everything was all set up. But then the specs came in for the True Temperament, and it's actually wider than most American built guitars by 2/4 thicker. So my fretboard was wider than the neck. So then it sucked because I was like, well, why did I even get a 27-inch? I could have just stuck with the 26. It was too late, and I didn't want to wait. But I'm just so used to it now; it's not a big deal. But yeah, so that's what's going on with the guitar, and I love the thing. So it's got the Marzios in it. I think deactivators or something.
Okay.
Yeah.
And, oh, sorry.
Yeah, you're right.
I know. I think that was like the first interaction we might have had was us talking about the Warlock specifically, because frankly, it's probably one of the sickest BC riches I've come across. I love the color and everything. I did not know it was 27-inch scale. That's I don't even think I've ever got to play one like an extended range to that degree. But you said it was pretty easy to get accustomed to.
I wouldn't say easy. I mean, it's because for a while I was only playing 26.5, and it's kind of weird. A lot of people don't like that. They think it's too short because for the tuning or whatever. And I would rather just deal with a little bit of tuning issues as opposed to health, like, hand issues. So I don't mess with it. So I'll always use a shorter guitar just for the sake of my body, especially getting older. But when you have beggars can't be choosers at that point. So yeah,
Right.
And then you just get used to it, and you're off to the races. So
Okay. How long have you played, extended range guitars? Like, when did you kind of make the transition from, whatever 6-string you started with to wanting to get into 7 or even 8 string?
I started playing 7, I would say around 2005-ish. And it was just to have more key options, right?
Okay.
And a lot of the stuff that I liked was 6-string tuned to C. So what I did is I just took a 7-string and tuned it up a half step, and then I had a high F string because I thought I was all fancy. So Yeah. I have a lot of like ball busters in your chat right now. I recognize these names, and these questions are not surprising.
I've seen a few of them. I'm trying to keep a straight face, but some of them are pretty good. So when did you make the transition from 7 to 8? Was it something specifically for Allegiant or?
Yeah, when Allegiant started, we were just 7th string. So when we were doing our second full length, that came out in 2012. So around 2011, the idea popped up, hey, maybe we should try some 8 strings. And I was on board because of different key options and everything like that. And then, yeah, and then I tried it and I hated it. So I wrote no songs on 8 string for our second album, but then our other guitar player wrote 3. So we're just like, all right, we're stuck. So then just got an 8 string, and then we haven't left since. So.
What was the first 8 string that you ended up picking up?
It's actually crazy. Like we had a Randall deal a while ago, and I had this like Randall. Do you remember the Randall amps where that you had the kind of like the plugins in the front?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like what Synergy is doing now, or like the modules or whatever.
Yeah, that's right. So it was the Randall with, and I had 3 modules in it, and it was a great amp. But I had already moved over to direct amp sims for live, so I didn't really need it anymore. So my buddy Aru Luster, who's a machine head, he's in a Blinds at the Gate now. He had a deal with ESP, so we just kind of traded. I gave him this Randall, and he got an 8 string for me. So he got a really good deal. I got an 8 string out of it. So I got 8 strings. He got the amp. It worked out really good. It was I don't even remember what model it was, but it was a standard 25.5-inch guitar, just with 8 strings. So that low string sounded flubby. It did not sound very good, but it was a great guitar. And then yeah, so I played that ESP for years, and then Jackson hit us up. So then we moved over, and they hit us up to come to Jackson, but they didn't. We told them we were playing 8 strings, and they didn't really have any at the time. So we just lost contact with them for a couple, like, I don't know, a year, and then they came back and said, we have an 8 string line that we'd like you to try. So we were like the guinea pigs for the Jackson 8 string line. It was like the flat, yeah,
The soloists.
the archtop soloists. So
Gotcha.
yeah,
I kind of remember those coming out, and I think, didn't you do like a promotional video for it and everything?
I did do, yeah, I did one, but it wasn't for the slat. It was for a B8. It was for their model, I think. And I didn't play very. I got ripped apart in the comment section, but they weren't. My ego was damaged, but they weren't wrong. I didn't play very good in that playthrough. I had never played that guitar in my life, and then I had to do stuff.
Gotcha. What kind of moving into inspiration territory? Where do you kind of draw from when it comes to riffing and songwriting and composition?
That's so varied, you know what I mean? Like, just because, I mean, my background's like as a classical guitar player, do you know what I mean? So, and you know, when I was growing up, I was a thrash and prog kid, you know what I mean? The death metal world was like been super kind of just like this new landscape for me. in my adult years, really. I was listening to Deicide when I was a kid. That was it. I was like a Deicide kid, and that was really it as far as death metal goes, like hardcore death metal. And it was not that I didn't like death metal. I just didn't know what was out there. This is kind of like pre-internet type thing. So the information was just kind of like word of mouth through friends. So death metal for me has been just such a new territory of finding, what other people have shown me and stuff. So, lots of thrash, lots of prog has generally been like where I draw influence. But like when I got to college and stuff like that, I discovered like the Gothenburg scene. So then I was listening to the first couple albums from In Flames, and then I discovered Soilwork, and that was like even techier, but like mixing kind of like the thrash stuff with some of the death metal elements and stuff like that. So it became kind of a conglomeration of stuff. So when you ask what are the kind of like where do I draw inspiration from, like everywhere. Now there's a band called Miseration. They just put out like their 4th album last year, and I love that band. And that's a lot of inspiration from them on the brutal death metal front for sure.
Well, let me kind of ask then, what is more your approach? Are you like a riff first kind of guy, and then you just try to see where that riff will lead you? Or do you have a general theme or melody that you try to expand upon? Or are you very like composition, like I kind of have the whole thing in my head, need to map it out sort of thing?
It changes all the time. And like everything you just said, it's like what happens in the moment for the, whatever song you're working on. Some songs just like you just shit out. Those are usually the best songs. And then there's songs that are like, man, 6 months later, I still am like beating my head against the wall trying to finish this up, And then there's other songs that it's just like, like give me, a couple weeks and you're good, So and it can't draw from, I got this melodic idea, and then you harmonize it under it, or like I have this sick riff, what's going on? Sometimes it's going to be programmed drums and just see what comes out over it. Other times, a lot of time, I'll just sit with Guitar Pro, and I'll just have 16, if I'm playing 16th notes, I just have 16th rests, and then I pick a mode, and I just start filling in random notes, and then try to play it. I'm like, oh, all of this is shit except for the first, 2 beats, and then you erase the second 2 beats, and then you go, so.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
When it comes to kind of dialing in your tone, is there I don't know, some people, they kind of chase a certain album tone most of their life, or they're a guitar hero. Some people, it's just whatever sounds good and go. Where do you kind of fall in with that, you think, when it comes to just dialing in your sound?
Just my answer here is not going to be very good for. My classical background has kind of like everything within Allegaeon. It's not really, has never been my strong suit. My partner on other side of the stage, he takes care of that, and he has a really an amazing ear for that. So Michael Stancil is the one in Allegaeon responsible for all the guitar tone and stuff like that. I'm a guy that yeah, sure, it sounds good. I don't know what makes it sound good. I don't know how to make, and it might sound like trash. Honestly, I can tell you if a classical guitar sounds good or bad. You know what I mean? That's where my world is. When everybody knows our host was kind enough to give me sample questions before, and I literally was phoning a friend. I was like, what's the name of those preamps we use? And he's like, do you mean power amps? I'm like, yeah, that.
Hey, there's nothing wrong with it. You're focusing on, the meat and potatoes, the music. Everything else is just sort of, it's fun, but it's all, accessory. There's no,
Yeah.
you don't need to know every type of tube that's out there for you know.
I wish I did though. I am very jealous of people that can do that. It's just I think some people's ears are a little bit more attuned, and mine just haven't been. You know what I mean? I can. It's there are certain tones that I'm like, oh, I like that, and other tones that I'm like, I don't like that. There's a lot in like the mesa tone that has this like sizzle to it
Yeah.
that I just don't like. In some instances, and I guess it can have its charm in some bands that like I think made it work phenomenal, like Strapping Young Lad.
Sure.
Like the way they manipulated the message is incredible, right? But for me, it was like seriously that's just never been like I have been drawn to that. Where it's like I felt like the PV line and the EVH line, they had kind of got the effect of the mesa without that sizzle that I would hear. But for better, I mean, it's obviously a subjective thing, but I was always drawn to more of the PV sound.
I feel like the voice character of like a PV, like a 5150 kind of thing, is maybe a little bit more mid forward too.
Yeah.
Like just out of the box. Either a Dorec or a 5150, I've always kind of boosted them with like a tube screamer or something anyway. Maybe just out of habit after a while. But I will say, even though I prefer the Mesa, I will say that the 5150 straight out of the box, no pedals or anything, is a lot closer to like just grab it and go kind of sound than the Mesa. The Mesa needs work, like no matter what.
Why?
Yeah.
Because I can't be fucked, like
Right.
just make it good for me right out of the box.
Yeah.
There we go.
Yeah, exactly. And like you said, the EVH, I feel like that's like an even more perfected.
Yeah.
I think the EVH 5150 sounds better than the PV one, and I'm sure inflammatory comments down below or whatever, but it just sounds a little bit more refined to me. But yeah, what do I know?
You can't if we want to talk about the clean channel.
Right.
There is a comparison between the EVH and the PV. But.
Oh, no doubt. So who exactly got you playing in the first place? I know you come from a classical background. Like, did you have parents that were really heavy into classical music and enlist you in lessons at a young age or something?
I just really was drawn to guitar. As a kid, my parents were super supportive, so they're just like, sure, we'll let you try it. So I just got guitar lessons from when I was a kid, and then failed out of guitar class. But I loved it, so I just practiced, and then got better. So yeah.
Gotcha. How many years of private lessons? Like, at what age did you start, and how long did you take private lessons?
Man, I started playing guitar in 1991, so that's like 30 some odd years right now. Right? If my math is, still, I don't want to do that math. It's 30 or something, but I still take this.
Hang on, it kind of cut out there. Okay, I think you're back. I was gonna say, not to make you feel bad, I know the exact math because 91 is the year I was born.
Oh. So, what's my damage?
Well, I'm 31, so
Years. Oh God. Okay.
Yeah.
Sick. Oh man, I'm gonna have more gray hair. So.
It's all good. And did you? I might have missed it earlier with the
connection.
Maybe the connection. Did you say that you actually went to college for music too?
Yeah. Yeah. I
Okay.
graduated from the Cincinnati Conservatory of Music
Okay,
with a classical. Yeah.
that's awesome. Um,
Exactly how
did
I
you
got
get?
because I came out here to get my
Huh?
master's. Yeah. I went to Colorado to get my master's, and then I always wanted to be in a band, but the classical thing was my backup plan. So uh,
Okay.
I got in a band, and then got the bill for my master's, and I was like, I'll just do the band stuff.
That was my next question. Is like if you had a bachelor's or a master's, but that's really cool. I went to music college, but I completed my first year, and then I withdrew and just kind of, you know, found a boring old day job. Which mine wasn't classical. I was actually going for jazz guitar. Yeah.
Yeah,
So rival camps. No, not really.
they were. Oh, they kind of were, but I feel like the guitar players always like hung out. In my
Oh, they did.
experience, I couldn't hang with the orchestra people because they were like, you play guitar or whatever, and I'm like, oh, they play guitar, I'll go hang out with them. The jazz guys,
You, you know who were the biggest snobs? Were like any of the band kids. Even in high school, band kids are rude and snobby,
yeah, yeah.
and they're like social influence. I don't understand it.
Yeah, like most people I knew that went to college, they only stayed in college until they got the job and then they just quit. And I guess that made sense. They got their orchestra gig and then just like peace, I'm out. And they never graduated. And I was like, well, I guess if that's the end goal, then why would you need the degree? I guess. So
Yeah,
good for them.
right. Most of the ones I talked to, it's like the vast majority of them were wanting to go into education,
Okay.
like just music education, and like most of the music majors in general. And I was part of why I withdrew was I was like, well, I don't want to be a teacher, and I'm from West Virginia, so there's not a lot of opportunities here in music besides a teacher. So it was just kind of a, why am I doing this?
Yeah. Yeah.
It was great for my guitar playing and my personal betterment or whatever, but what wasn't it was starting to get expensive.
It is. It's funny enough. Those college classes aren't cheap. Yeah.
Right. I will say the classical the classical guitar majors were always able to come over to like, the jazz band practices and stuff like that, and they could hang and they could actually just sit in
Yeah.
and totally just blend in chameleon style. I never saw any of the jazz guys going and playing classical though, so I feel like something is to be said there.
Well, it's weird because I did like begin to start to take jazz lessons in college, and there was a the biggest discrepancy I know because I sat down in front of my teacher and he just put a piece of music in front of me. I just sit there and read the damn thing, and he was just kind of like, "What just happened?" Because like reading the melody lines wasn't something that like he was that familiar with. He's like, "Now play all the chords," and then I was like, deer to headlights. I'm like, what? I don't even know half these chords, right? So it was such a different. It's just two different worlds,
Oh, absolutely. I ended up going through the same thing, and I had to learn. It was a crash course for sure. A lot of because I took private lessons for a few years, and played in a bunch of bands, most of the time with people better than me. So it was like guerrilla style education for years of music theory class my senior year of high school, and then boom, right into college. So it was a little rough.
Dude, that's cool that you got it in high school. I didn't get that in high school. I was crashed right into college, music theory.
Oh yeah. It was the only, I mean, other than, you know, if you did marching band or orchestra, which I never did, I wish I did now.
Yeah.
Like they had guitar classes, and it's funny. I remember taking a guitar class, like guitar 1, 2, and 3,
Right.
first year of high school, and it never changed. It was they would, you know, give you 2 chords
Right.
to practice,
Yeah.
and then the teacher would go do paperwork and just leave the kids to just be a bunch of menaces.
Yeah. Guitar 2 is what I failed out of. I couldn't
Yeah.
couldn't hang. I remember I was in college and I needed, I think it was sight singing. Did you have sight singing? Like,
Yes.
oh my God.
Hated it.
And I till this day, I can't do it, right? So I went back and I'm like, who can tutor me this, like, during the summer? And it was my old guitar teacher. And he's like, what are you doing here? I'm like, oh, I heard you tutor sight singing. He's like, why do you need that? I'm like, I'll go to college for guitar. And he's like, and he was just like kind of shocked. He was like, really? Like, because I had flunked the class, you know? So like, oh yeah. Guitar is not a problem anymore, but singing, that's
That's hilarious. That was easily the thing I hated the most.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Oh,
That and
awful.
I just remember this today. As I was teaching one of my students, we were talking about polyrhythms and stuff, and we had a class called Eurythmics, right? Completely different than the band. It was taught by like the percussion teacher, right? And we did some cool stuff in the band. He like taught us Tai Chi, right? So we had to do all these moves, and I enjoyed that part. But the part that I hated was he was trying to make us internalize polyrhythmic concept. So our final of the class, we had to dance in one time signature and clap in another time signature. And we had to do like a flip them on us, and we just constantly have to change our dance moves and the clapping pattern to go with each polyrhythm, and that sucked. I didn't go to college to learn to dance or sing, but ended up having to do both.
You came to play guitar, and you left a song and dance fan.
Yeah, that's right.
That's awful.
Really bad. But I mean, it was a very tough school. I guess now you know. You have to dance in one time and clap in another.
Yeah, that's kind of one of the, not to get preachy or on a soapbox or anything, that is one of the things I kind of took issue with, of like college level at least music education, because I can't speak for anything else. It just seemed like a lot of superfluous, like accessory stuff, that it was like somebody's just trying to justify a budget or to have staff or something at this, you know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, I understand the concept of learning, doing
Sure.
the sightseeing. Like, I get it, but I don't think it should be like a requirement to graduate. Do you know? Like, if that's an elective, I think it's brilliant. I think it's an amazing skill. But the reality is, some of us are never going to have that skill. But I can play guitar while I'm here. So you're going to prevent me from getting my degree because I can't sing for you. And I passed my freshman sight singing thing where we would sit at the piano, right, hit the first note, and then you just had to sing a piece of music in front of us. And then I deferred my finals for my sight singing class till my senior year because I was just garbage and I was gonna fail out. So I was like, I'll just defer my finals in both my freshman and sophomore sight singing until my senior year, and then I can just like practice and try to pass it. So I did. I passed my freshman, and I had hustled, man. I worked so hard to pass this. And then sophomore was atonal 20th century, like the melodies are completely dissonant and wacky jumps. And it's like, and I think I made it through 3 notes when my teacher, he just stops and he's like, "You're not very good at this." And I'm like, "You think?" Like I deferred my sophomore, and it was an automatic 5-year program, but it took me 6 years. So like from my second year, I deferred this test until my 6th year, and he's just like he just gave me a C and said, "Get out of here." So because he was like, "You get straight A's in guitar, but you can't do this," and he knew it. He knew it was BS because I'm just like, I'm not gonna sing, man. Like it's not my thing. So
like for a vocal major, sure.
Yeah.
You know, that makes sense. Why anything else? Anything else?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. Man, we kind of got off on a tangent with music education
that people need to know about.
Yeah, for any of you kids looking forward to, I don't know, maybe enrolling in the fall, be wary. That's all we got to say.
Your ear training program will be torturous.
It's been, let me see. When I went, it was 2010, and I withdrew in 2011. So it's not quite fresh in my memory. I definitely remember that outside of being like a doctor or lawyer, music major is like probably the most credit hours per semester.
Yeah, it was.
Isn't it something like around like 15 credit hours a semester, something like that?
I mean, I don't know. It was where I went. It was conservatory college, so you had all your conservatory classes, and then you also had to pass all your college courses on top of it. So I'm like, music theory, history, go to algebra. You know what I mean? Like, you take some BS classes that is just like, I just need it to graduate. I think that's for everybody, but it's like usually in a conservatory course, it's kind of like you're going to, like a trade school, but it's just for music. But we also had to take your regular core curriculum, which like added. Yeah, I think I was taking 18 for my first 2 years, 18 credit hours, something like that. It was ridiculous.
Gotcha. I mean that sounds believable. I want to say mine was at least around 15, but then they also don't mention to you up front that they pretty much expect around, I'd say modestly, 3 to 4 hours of practice.
Yeah.
Of varying things on your instrument.
Yeah.
And
that though.
Huh?
They never hold you to that. You know what
they don't.
They expect
they don't
it.
hold you to it, but they will. At least I had teachers that if I didn't, they knew.
Yeah.
Like one of those things. And plus I had a part-time job on top of it. So it was hell. But well, that might make for a decent transition to the next question. What kind of musical goals do you have for yourself, both personally and with Allegaeon, like as a band as a whole?
I mean, personally, for me, I love being a teacher. You know what I mean? So like, right now, it's just trying to maintain a full roster, of students, which is a lot of fun for me. And I like to think I'm pretty good at it. So it's bad if I thought I was a horrible teacher and then I loved it too, but I think I'm all right. And then, right now, it's just being the best musician you can be, man. Like it's like, I'm right now, I'm on a huge like jazz fusion kick. So like that's where my kind of like all my practice is kind of going now. It's like low
Yeah.
gain solo, but like trying to like do shred at low gain is kind of the next giant like step for me. Where it's like, oh, you can't hide behind all the distortion. I mean, there's no distortion here. Like a little bit of gain so it breaks up, but trying to shred in that capacity is where just like my head's been for, a couple years now, and I'm just like getting more and more into it. And the more I'm learning from that, it's totally applicable to, what we're doing with the Legion. And I think you can kind of hear a little bit in it, especially in the solos of mine on Damnum. Like they're some pretty wacky, doing some interesting modal things, out of left field type of ideas a little bit on some of them. And then for the band, uh, man, it's an interesting question because I think it's just so awesome that we've been around for like knocking on 15 years, and I've done everything that I have, like all my bucket list stuff. I've gotten done. I've toured the world. Been blessed. I've been to all these countries. I've done all this, and I just want to keep doing that as long as my body will let me sit there and headbang. But yeah, I mean, we're gonna, just want to keep making music. Just want to try new things. Keep expanding as a musician, in the context of a Legion. But also, I think we might. I think the band is trying to streamline a little bit, and that might be good for us. We streamlined as a group on musically on Damnum, and I think that was the first taste of it, and I think we'll continue to get better at that as we go. And yeah, the new stuff we got cooking is good, and it's kind of almost been written with that new way of like collaboration with everybody in mind as well. So, I think it can only get better musically. But yeah, I mean, the goal is always just to be better. Push yourself,
Sure.
to be. I mean, what more can you ask for? Try to make a living, scrape by, but at least be happy in what you produce. That's all I can ask for.
Sure. And as kind of like a little plug for yourself, if somebody wanted to take lessons with you, where would they go? Or just contact you?
Yeah, they can just hit me up right on Instagram. We'll figure it out. Or you can go to gregburgessguitar.com. But feel free to just hit me up on Instagram too. That might be easier. I think we're still working out a few email bugs, which is my fault. But I need to get on that. But until I fix that, you should just hit me up on Instagram.
Good deal. Just because you mentioned jazz fusion, I gotta ask, who are a couple that you really gravitate towards for jazz fusion?
Greg Howe is one, and that has been totally captivating me for a couple of years now. Just because he can't, I think I relate a little bit more to Greg Howe is playing and stuff because he came from the shrapnel, like 80s, like, the cacophony and that side, and then just gotten more and more jazzy as he went. And now he's like in the, kind of doing the jazz fusion thing, and a little bit different than like, say, Alex Skolnick, who just went complete jazz trio. It's a little bit, it's related harmonically, but not really kind of like attitude wise a little bit, where I think Greg Howe kind of kept the attitude of some of the old school metal things, but just kind of like developed more complex harmony as he was doing it. Like Greg Howe's like primarily, there's a guy that a newer guy that I'm sure a lot of people have seen, Max Ostro. That guy is unreal. Unreal. And Yeah, and of course you get your good standbys like Guthrie Govan. I mean, who doesn't like Guthrie? And Martin Miller was another amazing jazz fusion guy who shreds with the best of them. Like all these guys are super shredder players, and just more in a complex harmony way. You know.
I, I do like Miller a lot. He has a guitar player, almost kind of branching off a little bit more into, I guess, a little bit more blues territory. Would be a guy that plays with him a lot, Josh Smith. You know him?
I don't think I'm familiar. No.
He's he kind of likes to roll together, you know, like BB King style blues with like Danny Gatton.
Okay, cool.
Country picking with like any classic kind of style under the sun. He likes to just kind of roll it all together. He plays with Miller a lot. But yeah, both of them were sick players. It was kind of cool. I love Al Di Meola, but it was kind of nice to just not hear Al Di Meola or Pat Metheny in your answer.
I mean, they rule.
Sure.
I'm not going to say they go, but that's just not what I've been kind of focusing on.
Right. I never really got too much into Pat Metheny for some reason. I don't know why. I just never quite resonated with me. Love Meola. Have you seen Bobby Coble?
No.
So a lot of people probably know him from his time when he was in Death in the 90s. But he was always a jazz and jazz fusion guy, like almost first. But yeah, he shreds. And what? I don't want to speak out of turn. I can't remember exactly. I want to say, I was thinking he was off the Symbolic album.
I thought Symbolic was a guy from King Diamond.
Oh, that was the Andy LaRocque one?
Yeah. Yeah, I think.
Okay, no. He was on, no, wait. Since he did get to play on Symbolic, maybe he just didn't do all of it.
Oh, okay.
And then he was on, damn it, where is, I think he was on Sound of Perseverance. I think that's the main one.
Oh, okay. Well, he's on. That album rules, so obviously he's.
Right. I'm fact checking myself. Nope. Okay, Symbolic, and then they had a bunch of guest musicians on there. So that's the thing with trying to be a fan of the band Death, is that it's always just like every album is almost a different lineup.
Yeah.
Anyway, let me see here. Is there? I know your music first, gear second, more as like a tool kind of thing, which honestly is, I mean, that's the mentality you really should have anyway. We all kind of get lost in the fun of the minutia. But that being said, even from a practical standpoint, like you're talking about wanting to do more streamlining and everything within the context of the band, is there any kind of gear that you're eyeing, even if it's like just something to solve a problem? Like, you guys are probably already on in-ears.
Yeah.
I would assume. Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe you're wanting to change up your in-ear system or just anything. Anything that's
changed it, actually. Like, it's brand new. We just got a new, I don't even think, maybe it's Sennheiser, I think. Sennheiser system. Really nice. I mean, as for like gear, things that we're doing, I mean, right now it's investing in more in production on the production side.
Sure.
Like, you know, I'd like to get some more like lights and stuff like that. But I mean, that's where I'm at for gear. I mean, like for gear that I, like to get, it'd be like I have a lot of guitars that are very metal purposed, right?
Sure.
And one thing that we don't think about is like when we're doing like studio guitars for different types of sounds and stuff like that.
Right.
That's generally what I've been looking at lately. And it's like, what is, like trying to get a hollow body, like 335 or something, just for like, you want a really different clean sound on an album, or, like getting a Telecaster for a little bit of twang on a different part here and there. It's like all the like ear candy parts that we're like I've kind of been drawn to, but it's kind of weird. It's like, do you spend that much money on a guitar that you're going to hear for like 15 seconds? So I don't know. But that. I mean, as far as like thinking about gear, that's kind of where I've been drawn to as of late.
Sure.
Yeah.
To say it, that's something I've kind of struggled with that same thing.
Yeah.
Like during the time I was in college, I had my first 8-string, which I was not crazy about. It was a 25.5 scale.
Yeah.
And it wasn't the cheapest, but it was like the second cheapest. I sold that with the intention of buying a hollow body because jazz.
Yeah.
And I ended up buying an LTD Eclipse instead because I was starting a band, and it was a thrash metal band, and that I was like, I'll get way more use out of this for this than I will. I've managed to get a Telecaster though, so that's step one of rehabilitation, I guess.
Oh yeah, man. I've always, it's super weird. During COVID, you couldn't get a guitar, save your life. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I was getting ready to do a Nuclear Power Trio album, and I was like, man, I really want like a different sounding guitar for this. So I found like $180. It was like I don't even know the name of it, but it was like $180 like Tele hollow body on Amazon. And I was like, it's either going to go one or two ways. It's going to be crap, and then whatever. It was only $180. Or it's going to be like, oh, this is not too bad, and then you put it on their album. And I made it on the album. And I've been surprised about the cheap, like kind of crappy guitars on Amazon that are actually not too bad.
Yeah.
Like oddly enough, like you wouldn't think they have a whole bunch of like knockoff instruments. Like there's a whole bunch of knockoff Strandbergs on there too, from like China, that are not too expensive. And I'm like, oh wow. And then you look up the reviews and they're like, yeah, they're actually pretty good. Interestingly enough.
Yeah. I think I watched one earlier today or yesterday.
Yeah.
I'm not going to name drop the Amazon knockoff brands, but there's plenty of reviews out there for that. Yeah. I was even watching one for, I think it was like somebody had a builder from like you ever go on AliExpress?
I don't think so. No.
Yeah, it's all like Chinese manufactured stuff. It is so sketch. It is like, it's not even just knockoff. It is straight up counterfeit. Like,
so it's good quality, then, is what you're saying.
Sure. It's questionable quality. Like they'll use a stock photo that they pull from Google.
Yeah.
And then when you order it, they'll kind of like, hey, 30 days, because they build it after you order it. And when it shows up to you, it may or may not look anything that like, and it'll look kind of like a Les Paul custom, and it'll even say Gibson and made in USA, but it is 100% Chinese made to just be a straight up counterfeit.
Oh, wow. Well,
yeah.
That wasn't my experience, but
Yeah, yeah. No, that stuff, I'm pretty sure they police that off, like not on Amazon. Like, I
Yeah.
don't think you can find that kind of stuff on there, but it's out there. Like eBay's pretty bad for it.
Have you ever heard of a Edwards guitar?
Yeah.
Dude, I thought they were rad, and then I think Gibson shut them down because they were like, I mean, like this guitar is so much better than Gibson, but it looked exactly like a Les Paul. Uh,
I I think they so that's like the Japanese uh production line for
oh,
ESP.
really?
Yeah, they're owned by ESP. I could be mistaken. Somebody correct me if I'm wrong, but I think that's ESP's Japanese only distribution.
Oh, wow.
Because there is some stuff that's identical to what they sell as LTDs over here,
Yeah,
and they just call them something. They call them Edwards and sell them just to a Japanese market, which I have found a lot of cool Edwards exclusive like shapes and aesthetics and features and stuff that I thought was pretty cool and almost worth paying the $200 to $300 shipping.
yeah.
But yeah, no, they do have they have some really sick Edwards I've seen, like some that look like a really sick kind of Les Paul custom
Yeah,
and a color that Gibson would never do.
right.
But
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I'd only ever seen that one, and it was kind of like a Les Paul shape, and like it was an awesome guitar. I was like, couldn't ever see Gibson making something this nice, so I was kind of surprised.
yeah, I think Bernie is another one.
Yeah,
Like another one, like you can go to Japan and just walk into a shop and buy one, and
yeah,
it's like it's it doesn't like try to pass itself off. Like it says Bernie, but if you were like a few feet away from it, you're like, oh, cool, Les Paul custom, and it's like, oh no, it's a different brand. And I think Bernie's owned by like Fernandez or somebody like that, maybe.
okay.
I I don't know. It's hard to keep track anymore. uh, oh, where you were talking about like the Warlock and kind of your trials and tribulations with it and getting the scale length. Do you think you might order another one at 26.5 later on?
Um, no. I mean, not because I wouldn't want it. It's just because I would hate to, because then I would have a one that would be my main and one would be my backup, and I want them to be kind of identical. Just because if like I break a string on one, then immediately I'm on a guitar that's like a different size, and that could be disastrous. So I'd try to keep them streamlined just so that I wouldn't have to. Hopefully, they would feel pretty identical, so I wouldn't even know.
Yeah, that makes sense. Um, I know some guys will like change to using just one body shape exclusively.
Yeah,
For like their A and B guitars, just because even if it's not even just the same scale length, like literally the same style body from the same brand, just so they don't want to have to change their feel or anything.
yeah, yeah. No, I would definitely get another Warlock too. When I get another custom, I'll still get another Warlock. I may get like a different headstock. I got the Beast headstock, which they talked me into because I did want like a reverse uh, originally, and I should have stuck to my guns. I think I would have much preferred the reverse headstock, but it's way easier to tune on the Beast because there's only four. The Hunt and the big line of 8.
Man, I had to help a buddy shop for a 20. He has a 27-inch 7-string, and he was having the hardest time finding strings that actually reached the tuning peg, the farthest tuning pegs.
Oh yeah.
So maybe that's why they tried to talk you out of it. I don't know, but I'm not sure on that. But
Oh, what? That's that's an uh, interesting problem. What type of strings was he using?
I think at first he just grabbed like Ernie Ball or something like that, like a cheaper brand. I just talked to a buddy who um, he just got a 27-inch 7 string with like a 6 or 7 in line
Yeah.
headstock, and he's cool like the Dario, yeah, String Joy. Like I get, I'd say a lot of the brands, their baritone sets would probably work,
Yeah.
but
Okay.
I think he just kind of lucked out. But, well, I think we kind of, my next thing was what has worked for you gear wise, and if there's anything you're searching for, but I think we pretty much covered that. So we'll just kind of round this up to my closing topic: top 4 death metal bands and or albums, whichever is easier, because this is always the question that makes everybody sweat a little bit.
Yeah, I'm like automatically going, oh my God. Well, I'm going to say Once Upon a Cross by Deicide. I'm just gonna like go with my
Best album.
easy one, right? For me, Once Upon a Cross by Deicide. I love that album. Domination by
Okay.
Ego.
Oh yeah.
Um, are we it's like old school death metal? We're just gonna stay.
It doesn't have to be just old school. Everybody tends to lean towards 90s, but it doesn't have to be.
Okay. Okay. I would say Heartwork by Carcass, hands down. I'm doing way better than I thought I would.
Normally people do good until the fourth one.
Fourth one, now I'm just like, oh my God. You know, uh, the first one that comes to mind actually is going to be Monolith of Humanity.
Oh, okay.
Like throwing a newbie, kind of a newbie in there.
Yes.
The Anthropocene Extinction is probably. I'd probably listen to Anthropocene more, but I think Monolith is a little bit more,
Yeah, no, I get what you're saying.
Orange holding,
Like Plagueborn is probably my favorite song, but overall Monolith is where it's at.
What was Plagueborn on? Was that?
I think that's Anthropocene, and I can't talk.
That's an easy word to say.
Yeah, I think it's off that album and not Monolith. I think. Yeah, somebody will make me feel dumb here in a minute, I'm sure. But okay, yeah. I don't think we've had any cattle to cap answers for that. So awesome, first time.
Oh, good. Well, they have become a gem. I would say they have found their hill, and they're climbing up to die on it because they just like keep killing it. I'm excited to see they hear the new album and see what they're doing.
Yeah. The artwork was a little jarring at first when they dropped it, but I was like, you know what? They've not let me down yet.
Yeah,
so.
I almost feel like it's like sometimes artwork makes more sense when you hear it.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know what I mean? I think the story that they kind of like, led with.
Oh, absolutely.
So, yeah, I forgot about that artwork. But
yeah, I mean, it's not going to deter me one way or another. I've got to see them live a couple times now, and they're phenomenal. impeccable musicianship, and Travis is a hell of a front man. Like they're just great.
Yeah. One of my favorite bands we've ever toured with, actually, Cattle.
Really?
Just super awesome. Super awesome guys.
I've had Josh on the show before. Dude's a total
Oh,
sweetheart.
yeah. And that guy, his gear, he's a unique guy when it comes to gear. And I love that because it is very specific to him. And I think that's amazing. With his, what is it? He plays Cardinal guitars, is that right? And then high watt.
Yes.
Yeah, just like kind of like out of the box thinking for death metal, and I respect the hell out of that. That's like cool. Who would have put those together?
Dave Otero did a video. It might have been for their last album. I can't remember. Yeah. I think it was, and he did a full like signal chain breakdown. Everything from Josh's picks, which he uses like metal guitar picks. Yeah,
Dave makes everyone use metal guitar picks now. We get the metal dot.
yeah, it's like everything from that to the amps, and like every single component of his signal chain is just like, huh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah. And actually got to hang out with Josh one time, me, him, and Pat O'Brien when he was still in Cannibal Corpse.
Oh, nice.
Total sweethearts, both of them.
Yeah.
But all right, enough rambling here. I'll give it. Can't talk. Had a long day. Sorry. Give you the platform here, Greg, to go ahead and plug. Any upcoming dates, any news for albums in the pipeline, or even just plug your lessons again, whatever you want to do.
Yeah, there's nothing. You know what? It's like there's so much going on, but I can't announce any of it yet. So I'm gonna do the big things coming.
Right.
No one wants to hear that. No, don't pay attention. They'll happen when they happen. Yeah, we're just very busy. That's something. And then we do. The only thing we have announced right now is we are playing the Modified Ghost Festival in Vancouver in May. And there will be some routing dates to that, which is what we're working on right now, which we're very excited about. So that's what we got going on. And then there will be an album released for, I think the Nuclear Power Trio guys are releasing an album this year. So, which will be
awesome. So that camp's been kind of quiet for a little while. I haven't heard much.
There's a lot of stuff that's they're stockpiling is what's going on. There's lots of stockpiling of content that is will gear up towards new album.
Gotcha.
Right.
Okay.
So lots of drops before the next album. So yeah. So that's what's going on in the camp. Like there's like lots of things that have happened that will be unfolded.
I followed Nick for quite a long time. He is a very interesting, hilarious, creative dude. So I can't wait to see what y'all come up with.
The best human beings I've encountered on this planet is that man.
Awesome. Well, Greg, thank you again so much. And everybody keep an eye out for everything new with the Legion and Nuclear Power Trio. And for those interested, hit Greg up for any guitar lessons. But thank you again for your time, man. You have a good weekend. Thanks, everyone.